Hi, my name is Jonathan Hicks. I'm back at the Dice Cup, and today I'm joined by
Steve.
Noah.
And we just finished playing Concordia, which is a Euro game. You are travelling. In fact, this is an alternative map. The base game comes with a slightly different map of Europe, but this is another map sort of more zoomed in to parts of France, I think, primarily. But it's kind of set in Roman times, and you start, all your people start in two locations. So there's this one here, or this area over here. I think in the base game you just start in Rome as the one starting location, but as you can see you are spreading out either your people here or your little boats. They in this case will sail along the river. In order to build houses, you can see I've got my yellow houses all over the map, and ultimately obviously you're trying to get points, but the way you play the game is with cards. You have a big hand of cards here. I've just laid them out so you can see them all, and they're going to do a bunch of different things. So for example, you can play your architect card, which lets you move your people. So the boats and the people will move a certain amount depending on where they are. You can move more than one of them, and then potentially you can build in cities adjacent to them. So if I wanted to build in this wheat city, for example, there's a little card that shows you here what the cost is. So to build in a wheat city, I would need to spend a brick, a wheat, and 2 money. So you sort of look, this is stores your resources, and it'll only fit in, so you're kind of limited by how many resources you could have. But I spend my brick and my wheat, and I'd spend 2 money, and then I can take one of my houses and plonk it in the city. Oh, but look, Steve's already in this city, so actually if someone else is in the city, you have to pay extra money for each person that's in there. That's going to cost me an extra 2 coins, whatever the price is. And you can see for some of the cities, they're kind of better ones to produce wine and cloth. It gets pretty expensive in terms of the money you got to pay. So if you want to go in a city like this one, which has already got 2 people in it, that's going to be very expensive because you're paying an extra 5 for each person. So that's how you're kind of building all your things all over the board. You need to get resources somehow, and the reason you're kind of building these houses is in order to use your prefect card. You sort of prefect a certain region. So let's say I wanted to prefect green. It means that I would get a wine, and unfortunately anyone else in there is going to get the stuff, so Steve would get a cloth here. But also the region, the green one here, connects to cloth, which means because I'm picking prefect, I would prefect that one, and it flips over. Now they're going to keep flipping over to reveal different coins, and instead of prefecting to get the resources, you can instead take all the cash, and then they all sort of flip back over, and that means people can get the resources again. So that's quite a nice system that works as people keep prefecting through the game. Incidentally, you effectively pick one of these cards to play, and people just take turns playing one card at a time. So other things you can do, you can play Mercato, which allows you to buy and sell goods. You can see the prices of the goods here along the top. You can buy and sell one type of, or 2 different types of goods effectively. So I could sell my cloth, and I could buy one other kind of goods. So that's a little bit restricted. You've got to think carefully about buying and selling, but obviously you're going to need the money. Other things you can do is you can play a senator and buy new cards. So there's a kind of offer here of different cards, and the cost is partly the cost on the card. So if I want to buy this diplomat card, it will cost me some tools, and the cost underneath, so that costs me a cloth. So they kind of get cheaper as they go down. This is any good you like. So if I wanted this farmer, I would just pay a brick and a wheat. And when you buy the card, it kind of goes into your hand, so it's then available for you to use on the next turn. Diplomat's very handy. It lets you copy someone else's card. So if you've already used your architect, but you really want to do it again, you can wait till someone else has done it and then play your diplomat card and copy them. And then finally, you kind of play these into a discard pile, and after a while you're going to need to get them back. So you play your tribune card, and that lets you get all your cards back, and you're getting a bit of cash potentially. And also, if you have the appropriate wheat and brick to spend, you can build another one of your either men or your ships that will go in the starting area. So I could take my ship here and plonk it in one of these starting areas. So you're expanding across the map here, building out, trying to get as much resources as you can. But ultimately, you're just trying to get lots and lots of these cards, because at the end of the game, which is typically triggered when all the cards run out, you are going to count up how many points you've got according to this little grid here. So you're going to get points for different categories according to the number of cards. So you take the number of purple cards you've got, and each of those cards is going to be worth a point for every 10 money you've got. If we look at blue cards are giving you points for every city that's not brick that you're in. So I'd kind of count up, that's not a brick city, and that's not a brick city, that one isn't, or this one is. So you'd count up, maybe I've got 6 or so cities, and then each of my blue cards at the end of the game will be worth 6 points. So you're getting points for cities, how many provinces, the kind of big coloured regions you're in. Brown ones is how many different types of city. So you've got the cloth cities, the tool cities, etc. that you've got your things in. But notice you're getting 2 points for each different type you've got per card. This is for number of colonists, your boats and your people out on the board. And then finally there are some specialist cards that will produce, like this produces tools, for example, on your tool cities, and you're getting points. You can see it's 3 points here per tool city you got at the end of the game. So you kind of count up doing this multiplying thing for the number of cards you got. You see the colours at the bottom times the different types of things, and then most points wins. What do we think?
I love this game. It's one of my favourite games. It's really nice that on your turn you just play a card and do a thing, and then you come. Some of the times when someone says I'm playing the Mercator, you let them trade and you carry on going. So sometimes it's Mercator, and then it's Steve's go. Well, I'm still doing my little trading bits. So that's really nice. It can once people play before, or once people get the hang of it, it can go really really fast. So as playing up to 5, it doesn't actually slow down with too many people if people know what they're doing. It's nice you've got a lot of options on your turn. You've got this diplomat card, which using a diplomat is a really powerful card, but if you leave it in your hand, the longer you leave it in the hand before you tribune, sometimes it's right near the end, and you want to use your diplomat because the more cards you play before you tribune, the more money you get. But sometimes you look at, well, he's just tribuned, he's played a diplomat, I can't copy that. Oh, Jonathan's played a Mercator, I haven't got any money to do anything with that, so sometimes it's there. So on your very first turn, do you diplomat someone's architect or not? Well, if you do that, it means you can architect twice in a turn, but it means you lose the flexibility of being able to diplomat something later on. So it's really nice. It's Matt Gerdts, he did Navigador, which is another game that has this stuff you've done on the board multiplied by stuff you've got in your hand. In this case, it works very well. So Jonathan said it's a race to get all the cards. Well, it isn't. If you just spend your whole turn gaining resources and picking up cards, you won't score very well, because it's the cards multiplied by what you've done matters. You've got choices. Do you kind of concentrate to one region like Jonathan did this game and keep trying to prefect it and get loads of stuff from that one region, or do you kind of spread out? Because if you spread out, you pick up a little bit when everyone else prefect. You also get the provinces bonuses rather than the cities bonus and stuff like that. Also, you can't just sit there prefecting one place, because once you prefect it, it flips over, and only when someone collects coins does it unflip, and then you can do it again. So it's got lots of really nice decisions. I don't think it's an entry-level Euro, but it's a Euro you can teach to some people who are quite new to Euro gaming, and they will have a go at it, even if they won't win.
No?
I thought the game was good, and I really liked the mechanics in it, but my only issue with it was that it didn't really seem to be engaging or exciting, I'd say, because there was no theme. So I felt throughout it just went on and on and on, and there wasn't really anything to properly immerse me in. But having said that, I still do really like the game and the mechanics, because it gives a lot to think about. And although you're only doing one action, sometimes that one action can be more complicated because you want to plan ahead. And one thing about this game is that some Euro games, or I can't think of the name off the top of my head, you're very immersed in what you're doing and excludes everyone else. But in this, it's the opposite, because you're constantly looking to them because of cards like the diplomat card, which I found in a way a good aspect of the game, because it means that I don't feel like I'm just doing everything and developing on my own. I feel like I'm always keeping a track of other people's developments, which gives me a sense of kind of where I am at. But one thing is that it's kind of misleading, because the game builds on and nobody ever seems to get any cards, because they're building a strong base foundation on the board. But then after a while it speeds up and up and up, and people are getting cards nearly every turn, so it can suddenly feel like it just suddenly ends, which is another aspect of the game which you have to be wary of, because of course when you're playing first you don't expect it to suddenly end, so you sometimes find that you haven't got enough cards or something of the kind. Altogether, I really enjoyed the game, yeah.
Rating?
I give it a solid 6.
Okay. One of my favourite games, 9 out of 10.
Wow. It is a very good game. It is also a very dry game, as Noah says. It's not very exciting, but in terms of the thought processes, it is very engaging. You know, as Noah says, you've got one card to play, but you really need to be paying attention to what everyone else is doing, particularly when you're copying those other cards. It's just so much to think about, and you always feel like you never quite have enough stuff. So being able to time your actions with everyone else's, in terms of when they prefect, you can get your houses in their city so that when they prefect, you get the benefit as well. Very interactive in that sense, but not too complicated. It is one of those games, after you play it the first time, you're kind of like, oh, now I see what I'm meant to be doing, because it's very hard to figure out how to score well in your first game. But after a couple of plays, it's really nice, really interesting, very solid. I'd give it an 8 out of 10. Right, thanks for watching. That was Concordia.